Okay, so let's call this meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
to
the
the
flag
flag of the United States
of
of
America,
America,
and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which
from which it
for which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
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 with
with
liberty and
liberty
justice
and
and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all. Okay, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence for all our men and women serving our great nation. Thank you very much. Okay, so I know there is one announcement. We might as well do this now for a resident of ours, and I think Mark, you have this announcement.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I just wanted to send our condolences along, and I'm sure on behalf of the board, to the Priovalis family, our friend John Priovalis, who's a regular at our meetings and always has positive input for the township. His father, Harry, passed away last week. Harry was a great guy. You would always see him when you go in John's shop. He was very charming and a really nice man, and he'll be missed. So I want to send the condolences along to John and his family. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you. And that you're correct, Mark. That comes from everyone here on the board as well. Thank you. Anyone else have an announcement?
I can't hear you, Kath.
Okay. I would just like to thank the Fuge for doing an amazing job with preparing meals for our residents. They had a band, music, the food was really good. Everybody had a really nice time. It was all social distance. I just want to thank them for doing a phenomenal job in our community.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
No.
Okay. All right, well, let's move on then to, let's have public comment now. Mr. Schuster, is there any public comment?
There was one public comment related to the SAFER grant application. I did forward that along to the board. I will not read it because it did not have any identifiable information and can't be confirmed that it actually was a resident.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so we'll move along to consider the SAFER grant application. Mr. Schuster, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just going to briefly go through the history of this just for the board's benefit and more so for the public. It was over 2 years ago that the Warminster Fire Company advised the township that they were having difficulty responding to calls during the workday and advised us that they couldn't guarantee a certain level of service. At that point, we took a number of actions. Hartsville Fire Company was also put on those calls to have additional redundancy. We also undertook a fire study that was done by ECSI. The study is on the township website for anyone that wants to go and peruse. And the results, just to paraphrase, it said that we have a very good operation here. Our two fire companies are running very well, but they suffer from the same issue that many other fire companies are across the nation, and that is lack of volunteers. Including the volunteers that are in place right now aging out and no one replacing them. So they made a number of recommendations, one of which was looking towards hiring career firefighters, which would assist during the daytime hours, the workday hours. This is nothing different than most of our neighbors have already done. Many of the neighboring municipalities to Warminster already have some career firefighters in play. So after that report, we had been exploring ways to go ahead and do this and more importantly, fund it. A SAFER grant is an annual grant put out by FEMA. That grant covers a portion of the cost for the startup of the program. The cost share was 75% FEMA for the first year, 75% FEMA for the second year, then 35% FEMA in the third year, with the township picking up the full cost of the program in year 4 and beyond. When looked at this, the decision was made not to do it in this particular year, although I think everyone recognized the issues that we faced from a firefighting standpoint, but also the financial issues that are already existing, plus exacerbated by COVID-19. However, there was a significant change over the last week and a half or so, where FEMA did change the cost share requirements. They have, in understanding that there's municipalities undergoing financial hardship and wanted to make sure that this grant was utilized. They have changed the cost share to 0% for all 3 years, which means that the grant is funding 100% of the cost of salaries and benefits. Now, we did model this out. It was sent out to the board for five firefighters. The model that was sent out was for the worst case scenario, and it does employ increasing the fire fund mill rate, not the general fund mill rate, but the fire fund mill rate, and that would be going from 1.5 mils to 2.85 mils for 2021. What that does is it allows us to fund the program for the non-benefit and salary portion, but more importantly, it allows us to go ahead and bank some money so that we can actually fund this going out quite a few years. So right now we're looking at, if looking at the model, that there won't have to be a contribution from the general fund until the 2025-26 timeframe. It's really hard to tell you exactly when that contribution is going to be needed because there are a lot of variables, but that's what we're looking at right now. So we're going to be 5+ years out before the general fund would have to go ahead and contribute. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. If not, the appropriate motion would be to go ahead and authorize application for the SAFER grant.
Motion.
Okay, thank you, Ms.
No.
Okay. So, is there a motion to?
Motion.
Second.
And is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so just so everyone's clear that we did meet with all the fire chiefs and I talked to Mr. Schuster and our staff, and this is a worst case scenario, which actually this pays for itself for the next at least 5 years. Am I correct in that, Greg?
For the salaries and benefits, yes. When you say pay for yourself, I'm assuming you mean there's no contribution from the general fund. So with the increase to the fire fund millage from 1.5 to 2.85, it pays for some of the startup costs, which mostly are the gear needed for the firefighters, and also bank that money. So there is no contribution from the general fund. With the additional millage in the fire fund to be levied in 2021, it would be self-sufficient.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to make note of here to everyone is that the firefighters will also be participating in the fire inspections. So along with their duties as firefighters as well. So is there any other questions about this SAFER grant?
I
I
I'm
have a
sorry.
question. Are they going to be doing any have any kind of a recruitment program for more volunteer firefighters over the course of the 5-year period?
Well, thanks, Judy, for that question, because I did bring that up, excuse me, to the fire chiefs, and we asked them for to develop a written program, almost as like a business plan as to their plans for recruiting throughout the next 5 years, and they've agreed to do that. And so that's a good question, and the answer is that I believe that they are. Well, that they said they told me that they were going to put together a plan and send it to us.
Great.
I'm really glad that we're able to do this with the help of FEMA. Our firefighters have really been struggling in the township, and we don't have the resources or the monies with our residents, because we're a working class township and they have fundraisers, but it's difficult when you have a lot of senior citizens and a lot of working class folks. So I'm very, very happy that we were able to put this together, because it's a need that's definitely for the safety of our residents. And I was glad that we were able to meet and were able to help with this. And I also I was really glad that we were all able to work together, Joe Belton, Mitch, and Chris. I think it was a really good meeting.
Thank you, Kat.
Ken, I have a question for Greg. Greg, if we averaged out the cost of the millage increase per household, if we put together what the average increase would be for this?
So the last time I did that calculation, the average came to about $25 per year per mill. So this would be a 1.3 increase. So you're probably like 35 to 40 bucks on average per year.
That's about what I figured. And, no one wants tax increases but we have to do this. I've been in favor of this from the word go, because this is public safety, and it's our number one job as elected officials is public safety. So no one likes, hey, we're going to have a $40 increase per year, but you're getting full-time firefighters that are going to answer the call when you need them. So thank you, Greg. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, and this is our volunteer firefighters are going to continue to serve the community as well. This is not in place of that. This is
In addition,
something that we had. Yeah, this is something we had to do because we're not getting volunteers anymore, and we're struggling to answer our calls during the day. So I agree. This is all part of public safety. It's a need that we had to address. We did initially not agree to this because we're trying to get our house and our financial house in order, but with the changes from FEMA, it makes it much easier for us to move forward and protect our residents.
okay, call the question.
Are any other comments or questions? Okay, so with that, I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you very much. Okay, so any other announcements or comments?
One question for Mr. Schuster. I noticed the meetings for our upcoming meetings for municipal authority, library board, zoning hearing board, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it lists where the meetings are going to be taking place. Are they going to be done virtually? I just got an email from Amanda. So are all the meetings going to be virtual at this point? WebEx?
So yeah, if you look at if you're looking at the agenda, you'll see that a lot of those meetings, the date is TBD. That means they're actually not scheduled yet. The ones with dates means there are going to be scheduled. My understanding is that all of those meetings, with the exception of the municipal authority, are going to be virtual. I don't know the answer about how the municipal authority is doing that, but Ken might be able to answer that since he serves on that board as well.
As of right now, everything is done via WebEx. So, and I haven't heard anything different. So I'm assuming that our next meeting will be done the same way, as far as the municipal authority.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? No more announcements? So, okay, so thanks very much. I think, this is going to be all incorporated into our long-term financial plan that we're working to finalize here. And, I think our residents will be happy to hear that we're actually moving forward to help with the public safety, especially with fires and things of that nature. So with that, I would like to motion to adjourn.
I'll move. Mm-hmm. Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's it. Thank you, everyone. and have a safe day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.